What we're going to show you reveals how parties are thinking, their deepest desires, their darkest fears. We've been working with Who Targets Me, which tracks political adverts to come up with this map. It shows which party is spending the most online in which constituency, the places where they're desperate to win seats, or desperate to avoid losing them. And this is the overall picture, but we can break that down by party. Let's take you through those one by one over here. So we'll start here with the Green Party and the Lib Dems. We'll get into some of this, but you can see it already. This is the patterns of people where they're targeting. Some of these smaller constituencies, Brighton not really showing up on that really colourful map, but you can see them a bit more clearly here. Lib Dems in the south, you can see that clear emphasis. We'll talk about how well that's going for them. Then we have the Conservatives and Labour. Now, these are both very interesting. We'll come back and we'll talk about how those campaigns have evolved. Finally, let's go over here. We've got Reform UK, the SNP, Plaid Cymru. You can see, obviously, with the SNP and Plaid, that they are looking at their specific geographies when it comes to how much they're spending online. Reform, looking at the constituencies, not many constituencies here, but really targeting those in terms of its digital ad spending, including, of course, Clacton-on-Sea, where Nigel Farage is standing. Back to the two main parties. We'll start with Labour. They have been the biggest spender online this election, nearly £3 million. This is how their campaign has evolved. From the start of the election, targeting lots of constituencies and more or less maintaining that. Now, compare that to the Conservatives over here. They look like they've got a good spread, but actually we'll see as the campaign goes on, it's fewer and fewer constituencies. They're spending a lot less money than Labour. They're targeting, perhaps seeking to defend their heartland, rather than going after the seats. And we can compare all of this spending to what the outcome is predicted to be. So two maps for you here. Here's the one we had at the beginning, showing who's spending the most in which constituency in terms of online ads. Over there, we have the latest MRP poll by YouGov for Sky News, the one that predicts a Labour landslide. And there's some interesting things we can pick in. First of all, there's a lot of red. We'll talk about that. But specific geographies are also standing out. So down here, if you come with me or squat down, we see this is the sort of A30 corridor being targeted by the Lib Dems. Here you've got the Greens going into the West Country, South Wales, obviously trying to get that. We've got Reform on the eastern seaboard there. Now, how does that translate to when it comes to the prediction, the projection? Again, this isn't, definitely what's going to happen, but this is our best idea of it so far. And you can see, well, the Lib Dems are getting that A30 corridor they're spending big on, but when it comes to the Greens spending big there, well, those are all, actually, they're light blue. So the lighter the constituency, the more of a toss-up it is. It's a marginal call. The Greens perhaps spending there so they can turn that into Greens. That eastern seaboard isn't going quite all Reform's way. But again, back to that big picture, the red on that side versus the red on this side. So that's where Labour's spending. This is what's projected. And you can see why they're spending so much, because a lot of this isn't dark red. It's a toss-up, it's a marginal call. So Labour doing everything they can to get it over line. So that is the overall picture. And it makes sense, really, of when there are all these toss-ups or marginal calls and only the tiniest of margins, Labour is spending so big in so many places.